Well, how you do, Buckaroos? How the heck are you? Hey, I am kind of beer whisperer, but today I'm whiskey whispering here. I've got some Larceny bourbon. There's a good reason why I have the Larceny. Well, those of you that know me probably already know that reason. Well, it was on sale, man. It is a 92 proof wheated bourbon. It typically runs anywhere between 25 to 30, depending on the store. But I happened to find it for 21.97. So I want you to think about that for a second. It is a fine 92 proof wheated bourbon for only $22 a bottle. So there you go. So I'm going to read just a little bit from their website to give you a little idea if you're not familiar with it. Larceny was hand selected by master distillers to have a taste profile of a 6-year old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, made with wheat as a secondary grain instead of traditional rye. Larceny is a smoother tasting bourbon. Yeah, the rye would typically add spice to offset the corn sweetness. But what that wheat does is it softens it all. It doesn't necessarily tamp down the sweetness, but it sort of smooths it out. Anyways, that's my own personal take. Color, bright new copper. Well, here's some neat. Yeah, you can definitely see the copper. Fresh bread and toffee with a note of butterscotch as the aroma. The taste is buttery caramel and honeyed notes with a richer mouthfeel. The finish is long, gently sweet, and savory. So that's what the website has to say about it. Oh wait, I want to read something else there. They have some awards and mentions. A double gold. Larceny won the prestigious double gold medal and also top 20 in the world, ranked number 18 out of the top 120 spirits in the world. So how about that? You kind of take those awards with a grain of salt. I mean, a lot of it is just, well, I'm not going to get into that. But anyways, I guess the bottom line is drink what you like. But bourbons are a little different spirits. I mean, you typically, if you're talking about a Scotch in particular, or even Irish whiskey to some extent, typically the older the better. But it's not always true with other spirits. Bourbon, for that matter, some say the sweet spot for bourbon is somewhere between 8 and 16 years. Any more than 16, some say is too woody. But I'm going to take that a step further and say it doesn't necessarily have to be 8 years old either. There are a lot of small distilleries, young distilleries, that are only 5 and 6 years old that can't have you know a spirits that old yet, and they're doing some fine work with 2, 3, 4-year old whiskeys. So it's not always about the age. Sometimes it's just about the ingredients, how you put them together, and how you age it. This from the Fitzgerald Distillery, I think, out of Bardstown, Kentucky. I just think they do a fine job with it, especially for the price point. On my website, tomthebeerwhisperer.com, I've got an ongoing series where I talk about spirits that I like that are under $35. Now, here's one that is, well, I paid under 25, but it would typically run 25 to 30. But when you can find a spirit of this quality for only $22, I mean, for me, pardon the pun here because it is larceny. It is a steal, man. So anyway, so I did pour some meat. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna because I poured some on the rocks, so I'm gonna enjoy that first. I'm gonna let that kind of breathe a bit, but I don't want too much meltage to get in here. But again, it is a 92 proof spirit or a whiskey, so a bourbon, so it can take a little meltage here. So let's get to the notes. So on their website, they tell you aroma, fresh bread, toffee, and butterscotch. Let's see if that's what I get. I'm gonna hit the wrong button. I keep hitting the wrong button. I hate when that happens. I am not a technical guy. Yeah, you know what? Fresh bread, toffee, butterscotch. Why not? What flavors do they tell you to look for? Let me go back again. I should have remembered that. Aroma, fresh bread, toffee, butterscotch, buttery caramel, honeyed notes with a rich mouthfeel. So, yeah, I certainly do get those butterscotch notes on the nose. There's certainly some toffee like fresh bread, why not? It might be a stretch, but I'm going to give it to them. Wow, you certainly get those honey life notes. I'm certainly feeling some of that butterscotch they were talking about on the aromas, uh, on the flavor as well. I'm getting some of those nutty toffee. I'm getting almost like a hazelnut toffee like note on the flavor as well. I think sometimes as whiskey drinkers we get caught up too much in how long something is aged, especially again, especially if you're a Scotch drinker, because it seems like 12, 15, 18, 21, you want that higher age, but you also tend to be talking about a lot of money. Some people want to get real pretentious about it, but you can't get fine whiskeys, bourbon in this case, for under 30 if you're not a snob and if you're paying attention. Again, this has some nice flavor. Will you find a more nuanced whiskey if you spend twice as much money? Well, probably. But for this amount of money, you're getting a fine whiskey that is not harsh. It is very tasty. It is balanced well. It is put together well, and you're only spending $22 a bottle. So yeah, am I going to compare this to some whiskeys I've spent $45 for? No, and I think that's a problem that a lot of folks make is take something for what it is. Is it does it fit well in that class? Yes, it does. Buttery caramel, honey notes, rich mouthfeel. Yeah, it does that. I'm getting some buttery caramel. Yeah, I'm going to describe it more as toffee than buttery caramel. But yeah, you know what? Again, you know, it's kind of a tomato kind of thing. Eh? Getting just enough. I've noticed the more my little ice cube, more than my little ice cube, more my big ice cube melts, man. The more my big ice cube melts, the more sweetness I'm getting from this whiskey, which isn't unusual either. When you use a big cube, you kind of hit that sweet spot. You get that right amount of meltage, then you get that right balance of flavor. Now, if you get too much water in, you lose the whole thing. So you don't want to drink it too slow, but you want to drink it slow enough to get that right amount of meltage, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I'm right at that sweet spot, baby, where I've got that right amount of residual sugars. I really feel that honey right now that they're talking about. Oh, it is nice. I've got Missouri Spirits House right here. I'm a little bummed because they've kind of went up on the price on their stuff. Well, the stores that sell it have anyway. I assume they probably have too. But it seems like every time packaging changes, the price goes up. So they've changed their packaging once again. The price has got up. I used to be able to find it between 20 to 25 a bottle, which it's only a 2 year old bourbon, which I feel is about the right price. Uh, and now it's about $30. The truth is, I don't necessarily want to pay 30 for it, but it is fine. But the point is, even though it is a young bourbon, it is only 2 years old. And you typically, when you see a 2 year old, you're thinking it's a macro brand Raga, but their 2 year old is very fine. So it's not always about the age; it's about the ingredients used and how it's aged. But see, here I've got a whiskey that I don't know. They want it to taste like a 6 year old, whatever that means. And they don't give an age. But again, I have a 92 proof whiskey bourbon that only costs $22 a bottle. So I guess my point is the same with beer. Is you've all heard me say it is don't be afraid of getting a bargain. And don't be a snob. Don't be one of those folks who say, well, I only drink something that's 7 years old, or I only drink something that's 10 years old. I only drink something that's 12 years old, or I only drink something that's 30 a bottle, or 40 a bottle, or 50 a bottle. Because if you do that, you're going to miss out on some treasures. So let's try it neat now. There you have that rich copper that they talk about. Oh gosh. Wow. Well, not surprising. But the aromas are brighter when it's neat. You do lose some of that once you put it on the rocks. There's no doubt about that. Fresh bread, toffee, butterscotch. Well, I was feeling the toffee and butterscotch on the aromas before, but with it neat now, I really feel that fresh bread that they're talking about. Good golly. Buttery caramel, honey notes, rich mouthfeel, finish is long, gently sweet, and savory. Good Lord. Oh, nice. This holds exactly 2 ounces, so I had it just a little over. No, not quite. It was probably about a shot and a half is what I had in here if I was like guessing, man. I bought these originally. Got these, I don't know, gosh, probably a decade ago now. I don't even know how many of them I have left, to be honest with you. But we got them. They were marked down after the New Year at a Bed Bath and Beyond, so I didn't pay that much for them. But I bought them because, well, because they look like miniaturized rocks glass. I just like the looks of them. But they hold exactly 2 ounces if you fill it to the brim. Yeah, you do get those buttery toffee-like notes that they talked about. You do feel the honey. It's nice. Again, I mean, this is a $22 bourbon. 22 isn't necessarily cheap if you're a poor guy, but if you're a wealthy guy, $22 probably does feel like rocket to you. But since I'm not in the Donald Trump kind of neighborhood, you know, I grew up a working class guy. I wasn't born with a silver spoon up my ass. So, anyways, I digress. But I digress. Lost where I was going. Anyways, so $22. This typically runs 25 to 30. When you can get a bottle this nice for only $22, I guess my point is, don't be a snob. Don't get stuck up. Don't say, well, I only spend this much, or I never buy less than. Uh, you know, uh, this is a fine whiskey for the money. It is. It does feel of as equal quality as some I pay twice as much for. I will say that. Again, wheated bourbons are very interesting to me. I grew up drinking traditional bourbons where that use the rye as a secondary grain. With rye, you get that little spiciness that kind of works with that corn, kind of keeps that corn from getting too sweet. Um, the wheat doesn't necessarily do that in the same way. It doesn't add that contrasting spice, but it does soften the mouthfeel. And that's why wheated bourbons work so well. I mean, the best example of that is obvious. I mean, Pappy Van Winkle's, which I believe was the first wheated bourbon, although I'm not 100%, I'm pretty sure they were. This obviously, I'm not saying this is as good as Pappy's, don't get me wrong, but it is the same principle. The wheated bourbons are just kind of a different animal. And this one is very nice. Again, you have that sweeter whiskey. It is sweeter than traditional bourbon, but it's not too sweet because that wheat kind of helps uh, kind of smooth out that mouthfeel, makes it very velvety. Where you do get that residual sweetness. In this case, again, you get some of those honey notes. You get some. You may get butterscotch. I personally feel some nutty toffee like this, almost like a hazelnut toffee kind of thing going on. But you're going to get whatever it is you get. There are some. The oak notes to me seem very subtle. A lot of bourbons I've had where I feel a lot of the oak, especially in the finish. Here I feel some, but I feel the oak in a very subtle way on this particular one. Then again, at the risk of repeating myself for the hundredth time, yeah, I mean, it is only $22 a bottle. So yeah, when I saw the price on this, I said, well, I haven't actually. Well, I've had this before, but I hadn't done a video for this whiskey, which is odd. I don't know why I hadn't, because I've had it in the years that I've been doing videos, but you know, I hadn't done one for it. Oh, I am running long, I know, but I wanted to get both the rocks version and the neat version in one video. I didn't want to slam either. I want to kind of relax and have a conversation with y'all. Because y'all care about what I think. I don't know why the hell you would. Oh, but as you can tell, I mean, it is rather smooth, right? I'm not making a face. I mean, it certainly isn't harsh. Again, we're talking about something that's only $22 a bottle, especially when you think there are other macro. I don't want to mention any names, but there are other major distilleries doing, 80 proof whiskeys at about the same price I paid for this. They and they're what they're relying on is name recognition. They've got that name. You're gonna spend $20 to $25 a bottle for that whiskey, even though it's not any better than this, not any higher quality. I mean, there's a major whiskey that runs typically about 20. At one time, it was a 90 proof whiskey. Now it's only an 80 proof bourbon. And it's reliant on only its name. There's another one out there that folks know it is a good bourbon. Uh, it is a 90 proof bourbon, but again, it runs about 25 to 30 a bottle too. And here I have one that typically runs 25 to 30 that is 92 proof. So again, I'm not tying proof to quality, but I am saying sometimes people just get caught up in the name recognition. They know that name, so they buy that. Doesn't make it better. Just because you know something is there doesn't make it better quality. That right there makes my willy wiggle. I am Tom the Beer Whisperer. I am Whiskey Whisperer today. I stole this bottle of Larceny for only 22 bucks. I hope you're having a great day. I hope nobody steals your whiskey. I hope I didn't offend anybody, but if I did, well, then that's really on you. That has nothing to do with me. See your shrink, talk to him about it. I'm Tripper Whisperer, and I approve this message.